This week in our virtual art room, you're going to watch this video and learn a little bit about color theory and the start of our project and how to use this room. And then I would like you after this video to go on to the next video in the link in order to get to what you need to get to. This week we're going to talk about color wheels, and we're going to make our own color wheel eye. So in order to begin that, we really need to take a look into what color is and how color is used when you are using or creating art. So we've always learned about the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and then we've learned about the secondary colors where, red and blue makes purple, and so then you get green and orange. Well, there's something else called tertiary colors, and tertiary colors are the third group that you guys are going to learn about this time. And that is when you have something that is a purplish blue, or a red purple, or a red orange, and then a yellow orange, meaning that there's more yellow inside of that orange. And that's where you start really breaking into all those other colors, like turquoise and teal and magenta, and then you hear periwinkle and all those other fun names, is when you start playing with color and adding a little bit more of one or another. And it's almost like you become a scientist. So let's talk about this study of color. So in your sketchbook today, I know we typically do our Zentangles, but I thought I would like to see just how you come up with in your thoughts. So how would you use color in an art project? Would it be to convey emotion? So meaning, would you use lots of reds if you're feeling angry for the day, or would you use the cooler colors like the blues and teals and violets and purples in order to have something peaceful? So using the markers or crayons that you have at your desk, I just want you to go in and start adding in how you would interpret it. Alright, so let's learn about what is color theory. So I'm going to play this video here.
It's important for you to know how to mix your own colors to make your color palettes appear cohesive. It is also cheaper than buying a tube of paint for every color. So here's how to paint a color wheel from scratch. All you need to start are the three primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. All other colors can be created mixing these in different ways. Note that mixing all three together will make a muddy brown. The secondary colors, purple, green, and orange, are created by mixing primary colors. Red and blue makes purple, blue and yellow makes green, and yellow and red makes orange. Tertiary colors are created by mixing a primary color with a secondary color. These are red-orange, red-purple, blue-purple, blue-green, yellow-green, and yellow-orange. And now we have our basic color wheel. So to recap, you start with primaries, mix those to create secondaries, then mix one of each to create tertiaries. Now let's go over some basic terms to help you better understand and talk about color theory. A hue is the name of a color, like red, blue, green, yellow, and orange. Saturation refers to the intensity or purity of a hue. High saturation means the color is really bright, and desaturation means the color looks washed out or grayed out. Value refers to the degree of lightness or darkness of a hue. This value scale shows you a full range of values. A shade is a hue produced by adding black. So here you have a variety of shades of red made by mixing the red with increasing amounts of black. A tint is a hue produced by adding white. So now you have a variety of red tints made by mixing the red with increasing amounts of white. A tone is a hue produced by adding gray. So now you have a variety of red tones made by mixing red with increasing amounts of gray. When artists talk about color temperatures, they mean either warm colors, which are reds, oranges, and yellows, or cool colors, which are purples, blues, and greens. Opposite temperatures create visual contrast and have different psychological effects. Generally, warm colors appear bright, cheerful, and happy, while cool colors appear dark, mysterious, and gloomy. This is not always the case though. It really depends on how you present the colors. The color wheel is a great reference when you're choosing an appealing color scheme. Here are some of the most common types of color schemes. A monochromatic color scheme is made up of one hue plus either white, black, or gray. Here you have a variety of tints, tones, and shades of red. Complementary colors sit across from each other on the color wheel. The most common pairs are red and green, purple and yellow, and orange and blue. Putting these next to each other creates great contrast and visual interest, but they can easily overpower each other, so it's important to use them carefully. An analogous color scheme is made up of 2 to 4 colors sitting next to each other on the color wheel. These are just a few examples of analogous color schemes. A triadic color scheme is made up of 3 colors that are evenly spaced around the color wheel. Again, these are just a few examples of triadic color schemes. A split complementary color scheme is made up of a base color and the 2 colors adjacent to its complementary color. A tetradic color scheme is made up of 4 colors arranged into 2 complementary pairs. And a square color scheme is made up of 4 complementary colors evenly spaced around the color wheel.
All right, and I will stop right there. So you get an idea of how color is used. And what I wanted to show you here is we're going to be making color wheel eyes. So these are just some examples that I have come across. Here's mine right here, and then here's a different version that I've seen out there. So the goal for us is we're going to do the color wheel as the iris part, which is usually typically around your pupil, and the pupil is it's just what brings in light into your eye, and that's how you see. It perceives images. So your pupil can be big when it's dark because it needs to add in more light because it's so dark, so it opens up. And then if it's really bright outside or you're in a bright room, your pupil will actually shrink because it doesn't need that much light in order to see everything around. So the iris is what's around your pupil. And instead of having brown, green, blue, hazel, all those different names that people have for their eyes colors, we're going to use it as our color wheel. So you guys are going to practice making your own color wheel in an eye. So today we're going to be drawing our color wheel, our eye itself, and the color wheel. And since we don't have circle tracers, I'm going to show you some different tricks of how we can try to draw this. And then I will have the examples in our Google Classroom on how to follow adding in the outer eyelids and then adding in our eyelashes. So let's get started. Now that we've finished our introductory of what color wheel eyes are and learning about color theory, I wanted you to take a look at our Google Classroom here, or our virtual classroom here. What you're going to notice is on the right side, you'll see the YouTube video. If it's not working, there's a little link underneath of it, so you'll be able to open that up in the Wii video. And then also there are the directions, which opens up to the larger version here. So you can look at examples, but then you can also look at how the steps go in together. So you know how to draw it, the arc, the pupil, reflection, and tracing it in exactly all the steps that we're going to do. Here is my video I made last year, and I apologize, I had a cold during this, so I hope it doesn't bother you too much.
So today we're going to be working on our color wheel eyes. And before we get that started, we need to start with our base shape of the eye itself. And let's get to drawing that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trace it with the black permanent marker. And then we'll work on our painting of the color inside. So the first thing, as always, is we're going to write our name. So I would write Mrs. Holland. And then you need to write your teacher code. So 4th grade, and then you'll write your teacher code. Once you're done, flip over the paper. And we're going to be working with it in the horizontal landscape view. So with your paper, you have a pencil. And at your table, you have little plates, and these are going to be your tracers. So before we do that, the first thing is I want you to fold your paper hot dog style as best as you can, and then open it back up. Now, using the paper plate, I have it where I flipped it upside down. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but just try to, as I say, eyeball it and see what looks more in the middle here of the paper. And then I'm going to trace around. Remember, draw light until you get it right. That way, it's easier to erase. Perfect. Once this is drawn, now I'm going to make a little dot in the corner here on the crease, as well as here. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw the shape of the eye itself. So meeting near the top, I'm going to just draw an arc and meet it to that corner. And same thing on the other one. Once you have the top arc done, you're going to do the bottom one as well. It's easier starting from one corner and meeting to the middle by doing those arcs. And if it doesn't match perfectly, that's fine. Nobody's eyes are the same. Alright, so now that we've got the basic shape of our eye, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw our pupil. And our pupil is where we bring, it sees the light all around us and sends those messages to our brain. So we want to draw the pupil, a circle, a smaller circle. And because eyes are wet, let's add a little shine, or shiny as they call it, in there. Almost looks like an exclamation mark. And then I want to add a shiny part to one of the sides of my eyes too. So I'm going to do another arc and just kind of make it thicker, like such. Good. Now eyes have an upper eyelid and a bottom eyelid. So we're going to draw an upper eyelid. And then we're going to draw the lower eyelid. Now the lower one seems to be a little bit closer, and it kind of curves off into the eye itself. You make it however you want. It does not need to be perfect. Once you have your eyelids, now we're going to start adding in eyelashes. Everybody has eyelashes. In fact, they help protect your eye from dust and dirt getting in there. So when you draw them, just try to draw an arc where I touch more inside, and then I just quickly do a line. And it gives a nice little curve. You don't have to have a lot. You can have a bunch if you want, or you could just have a few. You can look at somebody near you and just see how their eyelashes are. Top ones generally are longer. They all kind of curve a little bit. And there's our general part of our eye. So the next step, once you have this done, is you're going to color or trace using the permanent marker. So at your tables, just like you always do, you're going to take out your permanent marker and you're going to trace all of these lines. Before we start dividing up the inside eye part here for our color wheel, a good step is, just like we did in our op art, with our shading that we did to make the illusion, let's add some shading and value to our eye so that way it pops. So usually, typically inside the eye, you're going to have some darker shading closer to the side of the eye and up a little bit more here. And we're going to go over that with paint later, so you don't have to have it too dark. So just add some shading in some areas for yourself. More on the lower lid, a little bit on the top up here. Kind of remembering in our dragon eyes how we went and did that to make it pop a little bit more. So very lightly, just adding some shading. Make our eyes stand out a little bit more. Just like that. So just add in a little bit of shading. For this next step, you're going to need a ruler because we need to break our color wheel into 8 to 12 equal pieces. And for this process, I'm going to have us try to do 12 because I want you to be able to mix all the tertiary colors or intermediate colors. So we know our primary and we know our secondary colors. The tertiary colors are when you mix a primary and a secondary and make like a red-orange or a yellow-orange. So that's what we're going to do here. The first thing we want to do is on that line that we created with the crease, let's just draw a line because that's how we balanced it in the middle. And we'll do our first line right across. Next, you're going to figure out where the center is. And again, don't worry if it's not exact. And you're going to draw a line, skipping your dot, your pupil in the middle, otherwise you'll end up with shiny silver. So right now we have 4. And then we're going to break this again in half. Okay, and then we're going to break it in half again. Perfect. So don't worry if they're not exact. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.